My name is Blair Frank. I am a self-declared warrior of the rainbow. I have been working at this garden, Gaia's Peace Garden, for the last 6 to 8 years. I've owned it for the last 4 years. I bought it from my wife. My wife planted it in the spirit of Finnhorn, the eco-village.
I met Blair a few months ago at a meeting of fellow water protectors. He was wearing his rainbow suspenders and was ready to protect our water. I met up with him at the Gaia Peace Garden here in Iowa City.
I grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've lived in Iowa for the last, since 1990 though, and went to seminary out in Denver, Colorado, but now I'm a global citizen.
For Blair, the water protector movement is about more than just fighting one pipeline.
I'll define a water protector as a person who has given up just about everything they do because they realize that water is life. And if we don't protect water, everything else is moot. It's irrelevant. We can't live without water. We can't go to a football game and drink a beer without water. Nobody on that field is going to have the energy to tackle somebody without water.
Blair went to Standing Rock twice last year to protest the construction of the nearby pipeline.
It's like a prayer meeting every day. A prayer meeting where you'd begin with smudging, and then he would explain. Everybody here, and it would always be in a circle, gets a chance to talk. We'd go in a clockwise fashion. Everybody could talk. But this is kind of the ground rules. We begin with prayer and we end with prayer, and it'd be nice if everybody began and didn't leave until we ended. And these are the rules we follow. And he basically, to me, was giving the golden rule: you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. He says this is a meeting where we learn about what it's like to build a community rapidly. We've gone from 500 people to 15, at one time I think there were 10 to 15,000 there. Standing Rock was all about was a shift of consciousness, going back to priorities. So I know like an average day there was such that I would wake up in the morning, get myself out of the sleeping bag, and it was usually pretty chilly the second time there, head over to a breakfast, see other people that didn't have a shower like me, or probably the best deodorant. That wasn't on my mind. We went there and shared stories about who how were people treated yesterday? How many people got sprayed with mace, or how many people got shot with rubber bullets? And sometimes you'd see people with big bruises.
The Dakota Access Pipeline, also known as DAPL, could have oil running through it any day now, but Blair hasn't given up hope.
First of all, I'll say that anybody and everybody can be a water protector. I would say anybody that likes to drink water ought to be a water protector. Why are there companies or corporations or local governments that can get by with making our rivers more toxic day by day by day because of someone saying, well, that's the way it's been, and that's the way it's always been, and it's the way it's always going to be?
This was my first time visiting the Gaia Peace Garden. Blair was more than welcoming.
All of you are my guests, but you know who the real hosts are here. It's not me. I have nothing. The soil, the air, the water. This place is here to protect the water, to honor the soil, to clear the air. I hope the role is to be a safe place in a day where there's not always a lot of safe places to go. And if somebody's having a hard day, I've many times as this happens, I've seen somebody sitting down there with a book or with their tears or something, and either alone or with somebody, but being here alone is fine, and letting Mother Earth surround you.
The garden, nestled in a cul-de-sac, showcases a variety of regenerative practices. Blair took me on a tour, pointing out a diverse selection of plants along the way.
we use about every principle of permaculture. We use berms and swales and biodiversity of plants and biodiversity of insects. I find the insects are helping each other here. Biodiversity of the mammals that come and visit once in a while. A diverse 50 or so of herbs and indigenous prairie. That's indigenous prairie right there. My wife worked for 30 years in the prairies of Iowa, and her passion was for undisturbed prairie. And she planted the oak tree over there, which is about 15, 20 foot tall. She planted that 8 years ago. There's a bur oak right over there. And we both have visions of children sitting around and people telling stories someday, because we love that oak tree. And if you look at it right now, it's such a beautiful time, because the oak tree is starting to bud out with those beautiful oak leaves. This is a children's area over here, a crystal area, a fairy garden. It's a place where we have elements. We have an orchard of 70 fruit trees. We have a berry patch. We have a fire pit, a labyrinth.
Gardens like this are essential in living a regenerative and sustainable lifestyle. Gaia's Peace Garden promotes biodiversity, preserving ecosystems. The garden provides an abundance of local produce and herbs for the community, without the need for agricultural pollutants or long-distance transport. And it serves as a community gathering space with its fire pit and children's fairy garden.
The director of Backyard Abundance lives about 4 or 5 blocks away from here. He helped to bring in guilds, and guilds are plant communities that are good for particular areas, like the root systems of apple trees and pear and peach and cherry are helped by comfrey and a number of different ground covers, yarrow. And so those are planted everywhere. Lemon balm and peppermint are my favorites, and they're starting to spread all over the place. Valerian is all over here. Biodiversity is just celebrating, that if you find a plant that you don't know the name for, usually we call it a weed, but a weed is usually a plant whose medicinal quality just hasn't been named yet. It's not a regular garden. I don't commoditize. I don't commoditize the fruit, the vegetables, the herbs, but I occasionally will barter or occasionally sell them. I used to have bees. The bees swarmed. I have lots of native bees now. I'd love to have more bees, but I'd like to have them in a regenerative way. This is an ecosystem unto itself, but it's ready to expand outward into the community.
I hope to live in a world where everyone has a garden like Gaia's in their backyard.
But there is energy in the air. There's energy everywhere. We don't need fossil fuels anymore. We do not need them. Anybody that tells you different, tell them to turn their TV off and come over to Gaia's and talk to me.